Hey friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. Today we're working a little bit against the clock because it is supposed to rain in 3 hours and I have a lot of planting I want to get done today. It has been raining so much lately and I just need to get out there and I need to get all my tomatoes planted today. But what I wanted to show you first was the reason I haven't been outside yet is because I had an Azure pickup order this morning. Probably the smallest Azure pickup I've ever done, but a lot of it we're actually going to be planting in the ground. So I wanted to show you what I got. I'll show you everything, but mostly I wanted to show you the plants I got because I'm excited. I went ahead and I got an entire case of lemon juice. If you guys watched my Get Prepared Now video on getting prepared for harvest season, this is my favorite thing to can with. We use it in cooking, but I love their lemon juice. This is the Santa Cruz brand. It's the cheapest for me to get it at Amazon as opposed to my local grocery store. And so I wanted to get that so I'd be prepared for canning season. And then in this box, I got some garlic powder for my sister. I also got some onion powder for my sister, but they didn't have it. Some sour cream. If you watched my April grocery haul, that sour cream, talk about a marketing, I don't even know what to say, but it said cultured sour cream, so I assumed it was a probiotic. It's not. And so I went ahead and I got 3 of the Nancy's sour cream because these are probiotic. They have active live cultures. So this is like, you know, yogurt but sour cream. And then I got just some almond extract. It was on sale, and there's some recipes that are my mother-in-law's recipes that call for almond extract, and I don't have any. And then I got a 5-pound block of mozzarella cheese. This is organic mozzarella cheese. This ended up being about $5-ish a pound, which is fantastic price for organic mozzarella cheese because I can't even buy that in my local grocery store. This is a different brand than I typically buy. I typically don't buy the organic one because I didn't even know they had an organic mozzarella cheese, and so I'm excited to give this a try. I'll let you guys know how it goes. And then I got 3 packages of ginger root. Azure actually grows all of their own ginger root. I've bought this a couple times to make fire cider. Fire cider is a master tonic. It's a health drink. I drink it all the time. But we are actually going to be planting this today. So that's why I bought the turmeric. The ginger that we planted is about 5 inches tall, and that might actually go outside today. I don't know yet. And then I probably did not need to buy this. You'll see this in a few minutes when we get outside. This was an impulse buy because they had on the main part of their website live plants. I've never bought live plants from them before, but a few of them slipped into my cart, so I bought them today. So we are going to look at them together. Okay, a few of them fell over. So there's 2 empty cells in here. I'm not sure what these are for, but what I bought were tomato plants. The last thing I probably need are more tomato plants. Now, let's see. I'm not super thrilled with how they packaged them because this is, when I opened them, a bunch of them had fallen over. This one, the top broke off, which will be fine. It'll grow a sucker. It's not going to be the end of the world, but that's not ideal. So that's something to note, that they didn't put any sort of extra paper or anything to block, you know, these from falling over. The plants themselves look really healthy, and I got 3 different varieties, and I bought 2 plants each. This is called a sausage tomato. Didn't even have a picture. I don't know what it is, but the name sounded intriguing to me, so I got 2 of those. I got 2 striped Roma tomatoes. I am growing what are called alpaca tomatoes, and those ones are outside that we're going to be planting today, but the striped tomatoes just sounded interesting to me, so I bought those as well. And then I bought, the reason I decided to buy them was because of these plants right here. These are called Juliet Tomatoes. They're basically, I've heard about them for the last 2 years. One of the flower farmers I follow on YouTube, these are their favorite tomatoes. They're a little, kind of like a grape tomato. They're about this big, but instead of being, when you think of a grape tomato, when you bite into it and it just bursts with all sorts of tomato juice, they're kind of a drier, more kind of Roma style tomato. So I've never grown them because I've never been able to find the seed. They had the seed at Johnny Seed, but they have been sold out. So when I saw these plants, I went ahead and I was like, I'm gonna buy those, and then I ended up buying I bought 8 tomato plants. That was a little overkill. And then I got 2 Roma tomato plants. So these are the only tomato plants that I'm gonna purchase. The rest of them I grew myself. One of the other things we're gonna be planting today are some elderberry cuttings. One of my friends, Julie from Row & Co Farms, she sent me these elderberry cuttings in the mail, and some of them I've already planted out because they have grown roots, but a few of them took a little bit longer to root out. So these ones are now ready for planting. The last ones I planted by myself, so I figured these ones will plant together. So I'm gonna put these in here too. Let's go out to the garden. You know what, I think I'm gonna bring this ginger out with me because all my extra pots are out there. And then what I'll do is I'll bring them back inside because ginger needs a really warm environment in order to grow. These are the plants we're working with today. I'm probably not gonna get to planting all of them, but can you see how big my tomato plants are? They're probably a foot tall. Along with, I mean, this tomatillo plant is huge. So first what I want to talk to you about is when I started everything and if I'm happy with what I did this year when it comes to my tomatoes, peppers, and tomatillos. Some of the tomatoes look beautiful, absolutely, I mean, luscious and beautiful, unlike any tomato I've ever started. And some look a little bit sad. These are the 42-day tomatoes. I think that what I'm gonna do next year when it comes to my tomatoes is I am going to, well, these ones look really good. This is the money maker. I mean, there are some dead leaves down here that we'll just cut off. What I'm gonna do next year is I'm gonna start my tomatoes about 3 weeks later than I did this year because they just didn't need to get this big inside. Same with my tomatillos. These tomatillos are huge. I've taken off so many flowers. I don't want my tomatillos or my tomatoes or my peppers for that matter flowering inside. It's just not necessary. That's a lot of stress on the plant. It's better for them to be in the ground when they are flowering, establishing roots, and they're not going to produce fruit inside because there's no pollinators. So tomatillos and tomatoes, that was a big lesson this year. We're going to plant them later. Now, my peppers on the other hand, they are getting planted at the same time, if not a week or two sooner. The peppers take a lot longer to germinate. They take longer to get big and established. And my peppers look so fantastic. If I can just say for a minute, I am so proud of myself. These are thriving this year as compared to last year. And honestly, it's the heat mat and those grow lights. I can link both of those. That is a game changer for me. That's the only thing I did different was that. Same soil, same everything, just the grow lights made the world of difference. We are going to be putting our tomatoes on these trellises. You saw Josh and I build these. These two down here were the ones we had last year. 2 summers ago, my chickens were right here. And my tomatoes and tomatillos absolutely thrived. And I think it was because they were where the chickens were. So what I've done every single time I've cleaned out my chicken coop, I've been putting their bedding here. So when I built these new trellises, they are going to be really, really in a very fertile soil, which I'm excited about. So I'm just gonna start randomly kind of placing things, seeing how it goes, and then we're gonna start getting things in the ground. I have both indeterminate and determinate tomatoes, and I'm sorting out the indeterminate tomatoes. Those are the ones that keep vining, and those are the ones we're gonna plant on the trellises. Can you look at how beautiful this plant is? This is the Wisconsin 55. Oh, I'm so happy and proud of myself. Determinate tomatoes are plants that only get to a certain size, and those ones work really well in cages. So the ones that vine are going on the trellises, and the ones that don't are going to be in tomato cages, either in the beds or in ground somewhere. I'm not really sure where. Right here, I have 2 pots that I put over here a couple weeks ago, and so I thought I would go ahead and get it filled. And I am going to plant a ground cherry in here. I've never grown ground cherries. I've eaten them, and they're absolutely delicious. They are like a tomatillo in that they have a little fruit with a paper coating on them, and they taste exactly like pineapples. It's very, very interesting and unique. So I'm really excited to give that a try this year. And then around the ground cherry, I have some pansies. I'm still working on planting all those flowers that we bought together at the nursery, so I thought it would be nice to add a little pop of color in this planter. And I'm going to start planting. I'm going to do kind of intensive planting. And down here is where we have the tomatillos. I think I'm gonna have a little bit more space on this one to plant something. Maybe we'll try ground cherries or the cucamelons or something. I'm not exactly sure yet. But now what we're gonna do is actually get some of these tomatoes in the ground. So this is our first tomato we're gonna plant in the ground, and this is Wisconsin 55. It is a hybrid tomato and it did really well last year. And this is probably one of the healthiest starts that I have. I'm so proud of this tomato plant. And we're gonna plant it right here at the beginning of this tomato trellis. What I'm gonna do to make this a stronger tomato plant is I'm gonna pick off these bottom leaves here. I'm gonna loosen up the roots. Then I'm gonna dig a very big hole that is at least from here all the way down to here deep. That's how deep I want this hole to be. I'm trying not to get these wood chips in my soil. Now what I'm gonna do, this is kind of surprising. I have eggs here. I'm gonna drop one of these eggs in my hole. I'm gonna crack it. We're gonna use this egg as fertilizer. I did it last year and it worked really well, but you do wanna break the egg. So I'm gonna break the egg and I'm gonna kind of mix it in with some of this soil. Now I'm gonna take my tomato plant and I'm going to get it all the way down there. Put the soil back around and we're gonna bury this tomato plant as deep as we can. And then I take the wood chips and I put it back over. These are some nasturtiums I planted here. I think it's gonna be really pretty if they take off. I'm gonna put the marker here so we don't forget that this is Wisconsin 55. And we officially have our first tomato plant in the ground for garden season 2022, and it's starting to rain. So I'm gonna put you away for just a minute. I'm gonna keep working because I need to get this done unless it starts pouring. Doesn't look like that gray cloud's too big. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. My favorite place to be. I love being out here. The weather held out and it didn't rain too much, so we got pretty lucky in that aspect. Now, I like to crush the egg because last year I crushed half the eggs and I didn't crush the other half of the eggs. And some animal at some point had pulled and ripped out some of my tomato plants and the whole egg was still in there. So that's why now I crush the egg. Also, if I had banana peels are loaded in potassium. I would plant banana peels with the egg as well, but I don't have any of those, so we're not going to do that today. Now that we have all of our tomatoes done, we're going to plant our tomatillos. And here you can see just how big this tomatillo is. I'm going to pick off any flowers so that once this tomatillo is planted, it can focus on its roots. These white bumps here are the starting of roots. This plant is so big that it wants to become stable, and so it's trying to grow more roots in order to do that, but because it is not in any soil, it's not going to work so well. So my goal while planting these tomatillos is to do the same thing as the tomatoes. I'm going to plant them as deep as I can. Tomatoes and tomatillos both can grow roots from their stem, and that is why we're burying them so deep, so that they can continue to get really nice established roots in the ground. The plant itself can be really strong and healthy, and then once that happens, then the plant can start focusing on producing fruit. I have 3 different varieties of tomatillos we're planting today, and my markers got all messed up, so I really only know about 2 of the varieties of tomatillos we are planting today. On the end of this bed, I'm planting some ground cherries, so we're going to experiment. We're going to have ground cherries in pots. I'll put some in raised beds, and we'll have some in ground, and we can just see how they do in the different areas of the garden. We have all of the tomatoes planted on the trellises and the tomatillos that we're going to be planting. There are over 30 tomato plants, and I haven't counted how many tomatillos we have yet. We have 2, 4, we have 10 tomatillo plants, and I also planted out 3 ground cherries on these trellises. So we have our tomatillos and some ground cherries here. These are all tomatoes. There's all different varieties of tomatoes. There's Big Beef, Paul Robeson, watermelon, different kinds of indeterminate Roma tomatoes, and just a ton of different varieties. Our Juliet, just a lot of different tomatoes. In this area here, I'm still going to be planting some tomatoes, but the tomatoes we're going to be planting here are our Determinate tomatoes. So we have a flat here, we have a couple here, we have some here, and these ones actually here are for the containers that we're going to be planting in. And then I have a bunch of Roma tomatoes right here. I did plant out these Purple Rain tomatoes in this pot earlier. I planted out a ground cherry right here. But I think I'm done planting tomatoes for right now. I want to get a bunch of tomatoes planted in pots, but I don't think I'm going to have the time. I also have some root bags that we're going to be planting out quite a few of the tomatoes in, and a bunch of the peppers. And I don't have enough soil right now to get those set up. So I'm going to take right now these marigolds, and I'm going to put marigolds at the end of those trellises. I have marigolds here, but I want them on both ends. Once we get these planted, I want to get some of the turmeric, and I want to get our elderberry plants planted. The wood chips that was coming up and hitting me on the back startled me like crazy. I thought there was like an animal back there or something. Oh man. These marigolds are not only going to be beautiful in the garden, but they're going to help deter pests and bring in pollinators. We are checking things off the list. It feels super good to be super productive out here today, and that the weather's held off. It did rain it probably only rained for 10 minutes, and it got pretty cold then, but overall not too bad. So I'm pretty grateful that we've been able to enjoy the day together out here. Now the root bags that I'm talking about that I want to plant out, the root bags that I was talking about earlier are these ones right here. I planted potatoes in those, and we are going to be, I've got ones, those are 15, can't talk. Those are 15-gallon root bags. I have some that are 45 gallons, and those I'm going to plant over where I had some tomatoes last year. And those are going to be like mini gardens in and of themselves. We're going to put things in them like carrots, beans, peppers, tomatoes, all the things, basically anything you would want to garden with, we're going to put in it, and we're going to make these little mini gardens out of them. But like I said, we just don't have time to do that. Or not time, I don't have the soil to do that today. But I have the soil to fill up some of these pots. I've got a couple different situations here. These are, I don't know where these even came from. I found them in our shop. They may have been left from the previous owner. There probably was like a rose bush or hydrangea or something in them. I don't know, but I'm going to repurpose them. We're going to plant some turmeric in this pot, and in this pot. If turmeric is anything like ginger, it likes to sprawl more than go deep. So we're going to experiment doing it in here. My sister gave me these pots last year. I'm going to go ahead and fill up all these. I think I'm going to plant in this pot and maybe in this pot. I think in these 3 pots we're going to plant the elderberry cuttings. Now this red pot, I have no idea where it came from. Again, red would not be my first choice. I tend to like neutrals, but this elderberry cutting isn't going to be in this pot forever, and so it'll work for today. I only have 2 out of these 5 elderberry cuttings that has started to root. So I decided I am not going to use this pot. I'm going to plant this cutting in here, and then we'll plant this cutting in this pot. And then I might save this and use this for something else. I don't know. But like I said, red is not my favorite color unless it's on a flower. So we're going to bring these ones back inside, and I'm going to put more water in here, and we'll continue to root these 3 out. Turmeric is a rhizome just like ginger, and it grows new growth from these little eyes right here. And I'm checking each one to see if it has an eye before I plant it. This little guy, I don't know if it's gonna grow. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wash this up really good and we'll bring this inside and I'll cook with it. But I wanna make sure the ones we're planting, like right here's a really good example of an eye. That's gonna grow from there. We have one here, we have one there. So I think what I'm gonna do in each one of these big pots is I'm gonna plant just one guy right in the middle. Same with this one, we'll put kind of a bigger one right in the middle. And then in this one, we'll probably put, I don't know, maybe 3 pieces. This worked really well with the ginger. I definitely want to grow more turmeric than this, so I'm gonna have to find a couple more containers. You only have to plant them about 2 inches deep. I bought so much turmeric that I wanted to get more of it planted, so I found these 2 containers and I filled them up and we're going to get them planted. I'm kind of excited that we have 3 different styles of pots, so we'll be able to see how the turmeric does in these different containers. And then I wanted to water them in really well because this potting mix that I was using was really dry. I haven't had to water anything this year in my garden because it has been the wettest spring on record. I changed my mind. I think I'm going to leave the turmeric out here because it's supposed to be in the high 40s, mid 50s. So I'm just going to experiment and see how that goes. This is my basket of stuff I need to bring in. And I have all of these plants that still need to be planted and the ones in my hand. I think I'm going to just go and take some of these flowers and different things that I've collected and not had time to put in the ground. And I'm just going to start working on putting some of this stuff in the ground. This right here is an elderberry plant that was a gift to me in my P.O. box, and I'm so excited about it. I was sent 2 of them and only 1 survived, so I have a lot of hope for this beautiful plant. I have 2 of these tower gardens. These are called green stalks. I do have a discount code if you're interested in them. It's pretty cool because in about 2 square feet you can plant over 42 plants. This one in particular is my flower and salad bar one. It's not completely planted out, but every time I come out into the garden, I add a few more things. I'm adding a few yellow and orange pansies just to add a pop of color, and then I have nasturtiums and kale and lettuce and all the things in these. I do want to get a couple seeds in the ground. I meant to do this over the weekend, but I just never had a chance. I have some radishes here. I think it was about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, we went ahead and planted some radishes right behind me between a few of our cabbages. And those are starting to sprout. They're looking beautiful. And so radishes only take, what does it say, 30 days to mature. So those are going to be ready in probably 2.5 weeks. So I want to get some more radishes in the ground so that after we're done eating those, there will be a few ready in the consecutive weeks. All I'm going to do is run my fingers and make a little bit of a trench. I'm just going to sprinkle a few radishes here and there, not being exactly precise or anything, and then cover those up. These are the radishes we planted about 2 weeks ago, and so it's good timing to get some more in the ground. So like I said, all I'm going to do is move some of the debris to the side, make a little bit of a trench, nothing fancy. And then I just cover them back up. I think what I'm going to do today is we'll do 3 rows of radishes. Josh and I like radishes, but they're definitely not our favorite, so I don't want to go overboard on them. I want to make sure what I plant we will be able to eat. In this bed, on that side of the bed, we have lettuce. I think I'm going to do another succession of planting of lettuce on this edge of the bed. Same thing, just make a little trench. This chicken run has been a life-changing thing for me. I absolutely love it. We didn't end up deciding to put a real door on it. For now, this is working. Josh has been pretty busy with work, so this works really well. I just open it and then it curves around and I hook it closed. Friends, it is starting to rain and I am getting hungry, so I'm gonna go run inside and I'm gonna go make dinner. I am filming a what's for dinner this week, so we are gonna have cilantro lime chicken, tacos, and I'm so excited. I'm tired, I'm hungry. I'm gonna rinse off before I cook dinner, and I just wanna say thank you for hanging out with me in my garden again today. I hope you enjoyed it. I just really appreciate you guys being here. It's really motivating to me to get things done, and I'm just grateful that today was today. It was a good day. So I am gonna go run, make dinner, relax, because tomorrow I'm going to my mom's house and we are planning we're prepping for 2 huge parties. My sister-in-law is moving out of state, and so we are going to be doing a huge goodbye celebration for her, and we're going to be making just tons and tons of hors d'oeuvres, and that's going to be a busy day. And then we're also the next day celebrating 5 birthdays in our family. We have a lot of May birthdays, so we're going to have a busy weekend. It's going to be a good weekend, so I need to relax a little bit tonight. If you're new, please consider subscribing, or I'll put a couple other of my videos right here. You can go enjoy those videos between now and my next upload. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I cannot wait to see you guys next time. Bye guys.